Kai Havertz could return to action sooner than expected, and it comes from HandOfArsenal, this bit of information. Shout out to him. He was terrific throughout the transfer window, has been in previous windows, has been at the forefront of some key Arsenal news. And he has come in with this tweet at HandOfArsenal. You should all go give him a follow, saying Kai Havertz has once again blown away staff at Arsenal with his approach to rehab. My understanding is that the German is in the final phase of his recovery and could make a return earlier than expected. And I have a smile on my face. I think that is good news. And we're going to talk about why. Of course, it's always good news when a player is available. And Kai Havertz has shown that he's a key player to Mikel Arteta, whether you rate him or not. He is someone who has been a part of Arsenal's best team in the Premier League since they won it. And he's someone who I think was looking sharp going into this season. A real shame he got that injury. He suffered his second injury of 2025. Of course, he had hamstring surgery back in January, kept him out for 3-4 months, made a return in time to play part of the end of the season, which was a surprise to many. And then he got a knee injury. We believe it was after a challenge from Ugarte at Old Trafford, and that has kept him out for, well, we're 2 months. We're 2 days from 2 months since that injury. And, there was a feeling that could be 3-4 months and he could be back within the coming weeks. I mean, sometimes when this stuff starts to make its way out, it suggests that it could even be as close as this weekend or next week that he's getting involved. But let's see. Let's not rush it. If he can be back anytime soon in the coming weeks, that's a major, major boost, especially with Martin Ødegaard out, because more players who typically play in the forward line are going to have to cover in central spaces, like an Eze, like a Waneri, like a Trossard. And when you do that, you're pulling players out the front line as well. Kai Havertz might even be used as an Ødegaard replacement. I hope not, but he's done that before Mikel Arteta, so let's see. Now, like we said, he got the knee injury. HandOfArsenal has said, let's just go through that one more time, that his understanding is that the German is in the final phase of his recovery and could make a return earlier than expected, which would be sensational. We have seen throughout the team players benefit from competition, from other players in their same position, coming in and applying a degree of pressure and doing things a different way. And if not putting pressure on said player to perform, at least giving them a compliment too. So Ødegaard, for example, is under more pressure to deliver now when Waneri's a year older and now Eze's arrived at the club. But at the same time, you've seen Ødegaard play with Eze. You've seen Ødegaard play Waneri, albeit a year ago, and he's thrived with that a little bit. When I look at Gyökeres and the form he's been in for Arsenal, I think there's been moments where you've gone, wow, he's a real handful. His relentless running, he attacks the ball well. He's not got the goals we'd like, but there's definitely something we like there. His hold-up play has been better than we thought. All that is great, but there's also been moments where you've stopped and gone, he looks a bit tired. This guy didn't have a pre-season. He's been thrown in. And those are some of the excuses being, levelled at, for example, Alexander Isak. But Liverpool brought in Ekitike too and have been able to rotate a little bit there. Arsenal have had Jesus out, Havertz out within game week 1 of the Premier League returning. And so it's all been on Victor Gyökeres. So he's had to finish games against Newcastle, against Man City when we've chased goals. He's had to start in the Champions League against Olympiacos. He's had to come on against Port Vale and play significantly more minutes than perhaps he would have even expected. I think there was a report by Gunnerblog in The Athletic saying, I think it was, so forgive me if I'm wrong, but I think he said that had Kai Havertz been fit, the intention would have been for Kai Havertz to have actually played most of this football that we've seen this season that Gyökeres has been getting starts in. Now, that's an interesting insight or take because Gyökeres did start the game at Old Trafford when Kai Havertz was fit. But I think because Gyökeres had just scored against, who was it? Athletic Club, who also were just beating the Champions League too. Because of that goal, there's maybe a feeling that Gyökeres was in form. He'd started the last 2 Emirates friendlies, going to that game at Old Trafford. And then Kai Havertz had also, I think, missed one of those games, not the Athletic Club win, because he scored in that, but the game before he missed because of an injury. So maybe there was a feeling that they had to kind of keep an eye on Kai Havertz from that perspective too. Is this injury that he's just had anything related to what he had in pre-season? I don't know. Anyway, so when you've got that, it's all on Gyökeres, not only to play the minutes and tire himself out, but there's also a mentality shift, right? Which is, I'm playing. I've got my spot. Now, I'm not saying he's not an ultra professional, Gyökeres. I'm not saying that he's not doing everything to get himself, in his best form and he's not as motivated as ever. I'm sure he's still got all that burning inside him. But there's definitely something different when you know, that player plays in my position and the manager might prefer him. And I think you've seen Martinelli improve with the addition of the forwards. I think you've seen Ødegaard improve with the addition of players who can play in central spaces. And I think Saka and Madueke have looked good, knowing that they're not only pushing each other, but you've got Max Dowman there too. I think the centre-backs, weirdly, Saliba hasn't been quite at his best. But when Mascara's come in, he knows he has to impress, because if you don't, Saliba's got that spot, so you've got to do it all in that moment. Calafiori thinks looked brilliant, and he knows that lewis-skelly was the guy last year, and everyone loved him, and he was brilliant. I'm sure Timber and White will continue to push each other too. White was looking brilliant in pre-season, but he's had injuries, not quite been at his best in the minutes he's got, but Timber looks sensational too. And you've got players that have been in individually good form. So I think a team can be in great form without the individuals necessarily being in great form. But I think what we're seeing with Arsenal is the individuals are matching the form that Arsenal's starting to build into now. And I think they're all thriving off this bigger group and the fact they're all complementing each other, but they're all pushing each other. I think that, we've heard Arsenal players talk about it. I think they all think it's a good thing. I think Rice has stepped up his levels in the last few games, not only because they're big games and we needed him to, because Marino's looked good in that role too. And for me, Rice has that shirt, but there will be some people, because of Mourinho's differed skill set, because of the performances he's put in with Zubimendi and Ødegaard in midfield, whether it be against Forest, against Olympiacos, there will be some people saying, Marino maybe fits what we want to do better than Declan Rice. I don't think that, but some might think that. And that's the kind of competition that you want to generate in the squad. So when could he be back, Kai Havertz? I mean, Fulham away is this weekend. I'd be amazed if he's involved in the squad, but when these things start to leak, that suggests something. Atletico Madrid at home, Palace at home, Brighton at home. I think 29th of October, so in 2 weeks, Brighton at home, Carabao Cup, I think there's a good chance he plays in that game. If we're taking what Hand of Arsenal says here, and Hand of Arsenal doesn't tweet a lot of stuff, so if he does, it's because he knows something, and like I say, he's been very accurate. When I say he doesn't tweet a lot, I'm saying he's not posting 4 or 5 times a day. I mean, maybe once or twice a week at best. Even that, it's not even that frequent sometimes. And when he is, it's because he's coming in with real knowledge. If he's saying that he could make a return earlier than expected, well, I'd have thought in 4 weeks, that would have been about right. I think 2-3 weeks ago, Arteta said we're looking more at months. That means, basically, if this goes into November, let me think about this. We're 2 months. Yeah. I would think pre-Tottenham, if he comes back for Tottenham, that's just over 3 months out. So if we're talking 2 weeks earlier, then I think he's playing some kind of part in either Brighton at home, maybe Slavia Prague away on the 4th of November, and they've done 2 and a bit months out. But yeah, I think that's probably how I see it. My prediction is that he'll be back for one of those. But if he's back sooner, that is major, major news for Arsenal. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And I want to know this. If Kai returns, shows some good form, and Gyökeres isn't scoring goals, but continues to put in the kind of performances he's in, who will Arteta go for? Because if Gyökeres is the guaranteed goal scorer, but he's not scoring, then you are looking at what they offer off the ball and what they offer tactically and what they offer to help the system and the team. So when you're putting one up against the other for that, who do you go for? Now, for what it's worth, I think Gyökeres has done very well on that front. But that becomes much more of a conversation. If you're talking about the goal scorer, that desire and hunger and want to be a brute, to run in behind, to bully defenders, it's Gyökeres all day long. But if he's not scoring goals, he's having to do a different role. Why not go for the guy who does that role potentially better, if that's your opinion? If it is, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. Shout out to Hand of Arsenal for some great insight as always. And yeah, we'll watch this space and keep an eye on what's said about Kai Havertz. All right, big thanks. Catch you all in a bit.